Hi, welcome to this tutorial where we will learn how to dynamically create a table in an Excel file, especially when the file doesn't have column headers. We will be using Microsoft Graph API and Power Automate to achieve this. So the scenario here is I will receive an email which contains an attachment, that is an Excel file attachment. I need to download that file into a OneDrive. Then from the OneDrive, what I need to do is I need to read the content of the Excel file. So before we reading the Excel file, we need to dynamically create the column headers. Remember, the Excel file don't have the column headers here, just the data only. Okay, so first task is create the column header, then create the table, then we can read the Excel file. Okay, so for this I'm using when a new email arrives. I got some filters I put. The filters here is like my subject filter is Excel, include attachments as is, and only with attachments he says. Okay, the next step I need to use here is again the Outlook connector. And it's called get attachments. It is get attachment. So here we need to pass the message ID. So search for the ID there. That's the message ID. Then again another ID called the attachment ID. So attachment ID there. There we go. That's there now. The next step here is I'm going to use the OneDrive. I could use SharePoint to store also. So here I'm going to use OneDrive to store this. Create file. If you want a specific directory, you can choose that. I'm just going to use the root. So it's going to put a slash there. And the next one is the file name there. So just search for the name. So here we go. That's name of the attachment. And then the file content. So that is the content bytes. That is all coming from the previous step. Here it is. Okay, that's done. Then the next is once we create the file, we need to go and read this. Okay, so what I need to show here is this is my Excel file. You can see that. So I'm going to email this so that my email will capture as a trigger. Then as you can see here, it's only the data here, nothing, there are no column headers here. Okay, so let me close this file now. Okay, so the next step what we need is we need to add an HTTP here. So before that, what I need to do one more thing, I forgot this. So under the get attachment, before I create the file, I'm going to add an if condition also. I'll tell you why I need that in a minute. So here I'm going to say like name of the attachment. Yeah, I'm going to say ends with .xlsx. Otherwise what going to happen is it's going to get the email signature as an image or something. It will come up as an attachment also. So just I want to avoid that. Okay, now I'm going to drag and drop that under the create file. Okay, all good. Right, so the next step is we need to find the range of the cells that are currently in use with the Excel file. And so that's the first thing to do. Then only we can use that range to say this is my data which is in that range, and then I can go and create the column for that range. That's the plan. So for this I'm going to use the HTTP connector here, that is the Azure HTTP connector, and we can see the pre-authorized one, invoke an HTTP pre-authorized. That's what I'm going to use. So if it's the first time when you're going to authenticate, it's going to ask you this question here, base resource URL. Okay, the base resource URL you need to give here is the graph.microsoft, this one, graph.microsoft.com. Then just you sign in, that will do the job then. Okay, so once you click on sign in, that you're going to get that. Okay, so that means it's authenticated under me and it got that settings behind the scene. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to use the get here, then the URL we need. Okay, So what the URL we need is something like this. So I'll explain this. So that's a the graph URL site API, and then version 1.0 me/drive root colon slash, just hard code that value here. I'm going to remove this hard coded value book.xlsx. Let me remove that. There we go. I removed. Then name of the file. Okay, I can use the name of the file or the attachment file name. I'm going to use the name of the file here. There we go. That's the one. It's going to be the same name anyway. Then the sheet one. Okay, so assume when it's a new file, when it comes in, assume it's always going to be sheet one there. That's it. So if you don't have it, then you need to know what the sheet name is. Then you can get that. Because the Excel worksheet can have multiple sheet names. So I'm going to use here as default name, that is sheet 1, then says give me the used range. Okay, the next thing I'm going to use here is a compose, and then capture the output, body output. Okay, and save this. Right, so what's going to happen here is I'm going to send that email which I shown you earlier, the Excel sheet, and I just received one earlier actually, so I'm going to use my last run. So basically I'm attaching that as an email, that the Excel file which contains only the data, no columns, remember that. Okay, and just use this. So I'm going to save some time there, that's all it is. Okay, so flow ran successfully. You can see here it did get that file. You can see ajbook.xlsx. Then checking for the condition is true. It's created the file in my OneDrive. Like I said, you can create this in SharePoint also. Then it's invoked that get. Then I got the combos. Here we go. So that means it got the address there. See the address? It says the address is the sheet 1 A1 to B3. That's the used range. Okay, let's check that then. So I'm going to search for AJ book here and open that file. So it's A1 to B3. See that? That's the used range. So ideally what we want is we want to create a table based on that range. So here we go. We got the range now. So the next thing we need to do here is to use that range to create the next step, which is another HTTP step also there. Okay. Right. So what I will do here is I'm going to copy this. You can copy the input or the output. The combos, it's going to spit always the same information here. Control C that, edit. Then here the next step, I'm going to add a parse JSON step. Map the output of the body, which is this here, so that I can delete the other step here. So that's a invoke HTTP body there. Then let me delete this. We don't need that now. Then click on the generate sample, paste this, click done. Okay, once it's done, then the next step here is I can use again the HTTP invoke. So use again the same step. Okay, so this time we need to use the post actually. So use the post, and the URL is something like this. Let me paste it here. Again, we need to change the hard-coded value of the book.xlsx to the name of the file, which is coming from the create file, and that is going to be the sheet 1. Okay, now the next thing we need to do here is we need to do a little bit work here for the body then. So body, this is going to be the body here, a JSON format. Then we need to specify the address here with double quotes, comma. I'll come back in a minute for that. Then it has headers. So there is no headers there now. So that's what we need to put it as false. So plan is to create a header, then we can read that easily then. So creating a table then using this range. So you can see table add. Okay, the address. So address, we just saw earlier that we need to put the range. So what we want to do here is we need an expression to do this. So the expression is going to be something like this here. So the expression is we need to get the last, then use the split of that pass JSON address. Here we go, comma, the separator is the exclamation mark. And I'll show you why we need that. We only need the range only. So before that, it got the sheet name also. We don't want that sheet name. So I'm trying to avoid that using the split expression here. That's what we need to do here. Okay. So let me copy this expression, add that as a note also so that you can see it. There we go. That's what it is. Yeah. So this will create that. So the next step again is we can use a compose action step to next step is again use a compose action step. Compose. Okay, get the body of it. Okay, and if you run this, you can get the the schema of the body again. It will create the table and we'll get the body also. So I got the schema now. So what we want to do again here is we'll use another pass JSON step. Okay, and copy the body again from the previous step, which is coming from the invoke HTTP2, that is this, from the post. Remember, that's a post job. Yeah, so I'm going to delete this. It's a similar mechanism I shown you earlier for the get. Okay, so I got the schema in my hand here, so I'm going to copy that schema. So once you put the sample data, you can generate this the sample schema then. That's exactly the same I mentioned. I shown you the technique here. Put a compose, pass the body, run it, then you'll get that. Yeah. Okay, so that's done. So the next step here is now I can go and say, hey, go and do the list rows now. List rows present in a table. So finally, I can read the table then. And I need to select my OneDrive here because that's where I created my file. My document location library is called OneDrive again. Okay, that file name. So file name is going to be slash whatever my file name is called, don't you? So I'm going to put a slash there and then map the file name then. It's the name of the file. There we go, that's that. Then again the dynamic content of the name of the table. So if you look for the name, that's what we after for that result coming from the invoke one, which is under the pass JSON2. You can see a property called name. That's the table name it is going to be. So we haven't specified any table name here. I'll show you what's the table name is going to create in a minute. So here we go. So everything dynamic now. So if I run the last run again, hopefully that will create the range and find the range. Then it will create the table. And all good. It failed. Okay, let's see why it failed. Oh, there is a second step it failed here. Hang on a minute. I got an if condition to check that. So let me save this. Okay, and click test and run again. Okay, create file. Okay, it says there it's locked. Okay. So this is an issue with the Excel file because the process thinks still that file I'm using it. Let me send another file, similar file, so that we can test that. All right then. Okay, let me send an email. Okay, the flow ran successfully now. So I just sent another email with another file name. You can see that the email is arrived. So let's go through the step. The first step is true. The second step, my signature, it is, like I said, it picks up all the attachments like the signature image, everything. So we want to pick only the extension of the file, only the file which we are interested in that. So let's go to the previous one. That's the first one. It created the file. It invoked the the HTTP request. It's passed the file, the JSON of the result set. Here we go. That's sheet 1 A1 to B3. That's the range, but I am only interested in the A1 colon B3. That's the reason. Remember, I put that additional the expression here, the last split expression to get that. So that's the technique. And I got the address, the range for the address, and then that created also, and finally it read my the Excel sheet, and I can see my output also for each column. See, test 1, test 2, column 1, column 2, column 1, column 2, test 1, test 2, test 3, 1, 2, 3. So if I go back here and look for the file which I sent, it's called the flow demo Excel file. It's called, let's see, flow demo Excel. There we go. As there, let me double click. Hopefully, there we go. That's, it's created the header dynamically. See column 1 and column 2. Then it created with that range as the table, and finally I got the result test 1, test 2, test 3, and that's the output. We just seen it here, which is in my run history. You can see that here, test 1, test 2, test 3. See, so remember the mapping I did for that, which I mentioned here the last. So that's the expression to get only the range, and again, for this, for the invoke and HTTP result, the get, that will give you the range. And then using the range again from the body, this result set I passed into the pass JSON step, and finally using the list rows, everything is dynamic. So the email arrives with no headers. Dynamically create the header. Then we can create a table also, and then we can read the content. That's what this video about. Okay, and there you have it. You have now learned how to dynamically create tables in Excel files that don't have column headers. All thanks to the combined power of Microsoft Graph API and Power Automate. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Thanks for watching and have a great day.